Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening, whatever the time frame of where you're listening to this, good whatever. This is Coach Renz at Deconstructing Christianity. Today, Wednesday, we go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Love to have you be a part of it. Love to have your comments in the comment section on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. Love to have you come on as a guest as well. This is a Christian deconstruction channel, meaning we deconstruct Christianity. We don't deconstruct Islam. We don't deconstruct Hinduism. We don't deconstruct any other religion. We deconstruct Christianity because that's the religion that I came out of. So stop asking me to deconstruct other religions. It's not going to happen. Just for some reason, I had a barrage of that yesterday on my other videos. But today, we are going to be talking about how the Bible begins flawed. Like the beginning of your deconstruction should have started the first time you started reading the Bible. When you first read the first pages, it is amazing how we read the first pages of the Bible when we were younger. And by the time you were in the 8th grade, if you read the first pages of the Bible, you should have been like, hell no. If you was writing the Bible, there's something inside of you that should have clicked to make the writer say, well, this shit just don't sound right. Even with their lack of scientific knowledge, there should have been aspects that they should have been like, hey, there's a problem here. We got issues. But that's not what happened. So today we're gonna look at the 6 days of creation and how just in the 6 days of creation, we should have been like, this is some bull. And the fact that there are grown adults who still think that this Bible is true and they've read these first 6 days is problematic within itself. Let me get TikTok set up. We start at the 5-minute mark. So if you're new and you're just finding me, we really kick it in at the 5-minute mark. And then we go from there. Hopefully we'll be able to stay on subject for a little while, but we're gonna get through these first 6 days though. That's a given. But we will so it's good to see the people coming on. I see Dwayne, Dark Light Delirium, Edward, Caper, Crypto. Just saw Superman, so saw Crypto in action on the big screen. Those who know, they know that I'm a big comic book fan, so I'm not a big Superman, a big DC fan, but a bit more of a Marvel guy, but got a little DC. But we're going to be talking about, let me do anything else? I got my water, got my coffee, got my cigar. Oh, I need to get the Genesis page up. That's what I got to get. So I hope you guys joined us. Yesterday was a good day, a good live video yesterday. I enjoyed that one. It went into some circles, I know, but still, all in all, was a good conversation. And I look forward to having many more conversations with other people as well. We'll have some of those today, hopefully. I don't know how anybody can refute Genesis is jacked up. Genesis 1 just got massive problems, just massive issues. Yeah. And then we can see how it's copies of other writings. So we're going to go through that today. I forgot to put this up, but let me get this up here on the screen share. And get this going here. Where's the screen share? There we go. Got that part. All right, we back in the sound. All right, we good to go. We good to go. How's everybody's day going? Let's get the tickety top one, and then we will get started. All right. We getting the tickety top one. TikTok been acting all right, so I'm gonna let them I'm gonna keep doing the live on there as well, just to make sure, you know, it's been all right. All right. Miss Big Up Adam. Miss Big Up and Adam, how you doing? How you doing? So just a little housekeeping real quick. If you have not joined us, we are having a meetup. If there's free food, people told me I should lead with free food. So I'm gonna lead with the free food. There's opportunities of free food when you reserve at the Drury Hotel for our meetup in San Antonio on October 31st through November 2nd. We're having a meetup here in San Antonio. There's a link in the description of the video on Facebook and YouTube where you can sign up and where you can reserve your room. It doesn't cost you anything up front, and there's nothing that's going to cost you while you're here. There's no paid events or anything of that sort. Every place that we meet up, I'm ensuring that it's free entry, and we're just congregating and meeting in these different places. So in the description on the Facebook and YouTube version of the lives, go and click on that, and I'll see you guys in San Antonio. So now on to today's subject matter. Today's subject matter is we're talking about you're on lives every day. No, we do lives every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 12 noon to until we finish. We used to do it in the evenings, but my life is changing a bit, so I have to switch the time frame around. So what we have here is Genesis. And there are problems within Genesis. And I would dare anyone to dispute that Genesis first chapter, that when you read it, that it is not, it's false, that it should make you walk away from the Bible, that when you should turn a different eye to it and recognize that these 6 days of creation are impossible. They're out of sync, out of order. And even for people in ancient times, certain aspects of Genesis chapter 1 should have been like, I think we need to rearrange this a little bit. This don't actually sound like it makes any sense. But they wrote it anyway. They wrote it anyway. And part of the reason why they wrote it the ways that they did is because they was pulling from other people's creation story. You see, one thing that many people don't understand is that these creation stories of the creation story of the Hebrew people is not of their own creation. This is something that they learned from when they were Canaanites. This is something that they learned when they was under Egyptian rule. Things that they learned, and when I say Egyptian rule, this is not during the Exodus, but it is something that they learned during the while they were a vassal state in the Levant under Egypt when they became Israelites. So this is something that when I say Egyptian, that's the time frame. This and it's what they picked up from the Assyrians and the Akkadians and the Sumerians, and ultimately in its editing is something they picked up from the Babylonians. Now, this Genesis story leaves a lot to be desired. But in order to understand that, we have to first take a peek at what it says in the Genesis story. And I don't know why this is not adding to the stage on Facebook and YouTube. I'm clicking the button. Add to stage. There we go. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see this on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to try to make it as clear as possible, as big as possible, I should say, and remove the ad. But I'm just clicking buttons and hitting the wrong one. All right, that's bigger. So when you look at this Genesis chapter 1, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Genesis chapter 1. I utilize the New Revised Standard Updated Edition because it is the most accurate version based on the translations from the oldest manuscripts that they have, which would be your Septuagints, your Latin versions, things of that nature, the little scraps that they have here and there. So this is what we're using. And when you use this one, you'll find that there are plenty of differences, especially compared to the Ragged King James, which is a horrible one. You saw the video I did the other day. Yesterday, I talked about how the King James Bible is really pulling mostly from the Bishop Bible, and the Bishop Bible has many discrepancies in it, and that there were much better Bibles around, like the Geneva Bible, that they could have used more so than the Bishop Bible. So, but that's not what this video is about. Now, right now, I can't see your comments because I clicked over so I can read this thing. I know it's hard for y'all to read. Let me see if I can read it on the page so I can see y'all comments at the same time. What up, Smiley? Oh, hell no. I can't read that. So let me go back to the actual thing. So when you're reading this, when you first started reading this book, one of the things that should have been recognizable right off the bat is when it starts off. If you had done any, well, let me not say one thing when you should have first realized when you first started reading it. When you have went and you've done your research and you start reading the Sumerian text and understanding what their story is, reading the Greek text, the Egyptian text, reading everybody's text, you will find the commonality of this, everything coming out of darkness and this God just creating everything. And since these Israelite Hebrew people didn't even exist until at earliest 14th century BCE, but most likely in the 12th century, 13th century BCE, that they were copying from other people. They were, they saw how other people started their stories, and they were accustomed to the story starting in a similar fashion since they are coming out of the Canaanite people. So when it starts out and said, when God began to create the heavens and the earth, and that's how that should be read. Most people go with the King James, which says, in the beginning, God created. That's not how it should have been translated. This is why we're using the New Revised Standard Updated Edition, New Revised Standard Version Update Edition, when God began to create. That's different from in the beginning, because in the beginning is a determinate time frame that says that nothing else was in existence. This says when God began to create the heavens and the earth. So he began creating the heavens and the earth. It wasn't out of nothingness. It was out of somethingness that was there that he began creating the heavens and the earth. So there is a difference in mentality. And part of this difference is because if you understood the Canaanite version or the Sumerian version, like in the Sumerian version, you had the Namu, who is the salt waters or the waters below, and you have the Anu, which is the fresh water or the waters above, and the two of them merged together. So there was something that began the creation. Or if you had the Kemetic version, you had the Ogdod, which I spoke about a little bit about yesterday. Hopefully you guys went and researched the Ogdod. And then from the Ogdod, it produced the cosmic egg. From the cosmic egg, it produced Ra. Ra then creates Jeb and Nut, and Jeb and Nut are embraced as waters above and waters below. And then he creates Shu, which is the wind, and the wind separates them. So keep that in mind. And these people, these Canaanites at the time frame, are coming out of, they were under Egyptian rule as a vassal state at this time frame. So when it says so this God created the heavens and the earth, and when the earth was complete, created the heavens and the earth was complete chaos. and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. So heaven and earth is created, but the earth is chaotic, steeped in darkness, and covered the face of the deep. This is just like when we see the Sumerian story. Well, the Egyptian story is a greater understanding of it, greater conception of it. Their story where it talks about Jeb and Nut are in this embrace, and then it takes the wind to come and separate. The Bible pretty much is just taking that aspect of the story, of the Kemetic story, and making it their own and having the wind. But this was a common trope for these Mediterranean civilizations, that what separated the waters so that the land can be shown is the wind. And this is this guy's wind, this guy's ruach, as they like to say. You know, it always makes them, they feel like they say something major when they use, you know, like the Hebrew word and say ruach. Like it makes them better. Like I got a deeper understanding because I can use, you know, the ruach. That would be like me just saying merci, s'il vous plaît. Every time I just want to say thank you to somebody, as if they makes it better. But anyway, but the faces. So if you studied this before, then deeper, then you would already recognize that it starts out as a copy of other people's stories. So that'll be the first thing that throw up a red flag. But that usually happens when you're already in the process of deconstructing or you've deconstructed. In a minute, we're going to get to aspects of it of, well, you gotta have certain, this thing is out of order when you're just reading and you're trying to believe it. So then God separated the light from the darkness and called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Now, when I was a child and I read that, when I first read the Bible, I started from the beginning. I was going to read it, and I said, okay, there was God created light. God created the sun. That was my thought. He created the sun. And I know that we're going to get to the fourth day when he actually creates the sun and the moon. But when you're reading it and you're not thinking about it, you automatically will assume that this light is the sun. Now, most Christians will say, well, the light, or the Bible believers will say, well, the light was God. God provided the light. So that was the light. That's at least what they used to tell us in the 80s and 90s. That was the light. So there was light, and he saw the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day, called the darkness, he called night. So where did God go? Did he go to another part of the universe, another part of the galaxy where his light doesn't shine, so that there could be evening, so that there could be darkness on this chaotic ball of earth if he was the light? You see, there's no explanation for this light. None whatsoever. Some Bible believers have tried to say that this let there be light is what scientists are calling the Big Bang. But that doesn't work because there is no day and night in the cosmology of the Big Bang. There's no such idea of separating the day and night based on any individual light. All kinds of lights were then created and sustained, not a day, not a evening and a morning. There was no day cycle when it came to that, because our time is relative to us being here on this earth. So there was no relative day and night cycle. Oops, sorry about that. So we continue, because this thing is problematic. I want to get through all of it, and then we can have a bold discussion on the whole thing. Verse 6, and God said, let there be a dome And I am not getting into no damn flat earth discussions, but this is where the flat earth comes, where the first indication of a flat earth and their belief in a flat earth. God said, let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. So God made a dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. And it was so, and God called the dome sky. And there was evening and there was morning and the second day. Now, if you've done deeper readings of the Anunnaki story, as mentioned before, we know that Namu and Anu is the sky daddy of the Anunnaki story, but he is the waters above, whereas Namu is the waters below. Now, I know later the Babylonians, they do the whole Marduk killed Tiamat and built the earth based on Tiamat's body. But the original story of the original Sumerian story is the Namu and Anu story. So, but the dome, the firmament, as they like to call it, is the first indication that gets started for the flat Earth people. So there had to be. So if there's a dome, even water comes from the sun. Many don't understand. Water comes from. I'm flipping back over to see what y'all got. What y'all saying? Waters come from the sun, from understanding. Water is found in comets and asteroids. True. So water is not an Earth only element. The Milky Way has many suns. Let me go back to this. So this dome was created, and I always want. So how do asteroids hit the Earth if there's a protective dome? This is also the idea that rain. Later on in the Bible, it talks about when it rains in Genesis, that God opens portals in the heavens in order for it to rain. So rain happens when God opened windows in the heavens, in the dome, and that is how rain happens. Now, of course, for the people way back then, they may have thought that that was true, because for them, they even though they should have recognized that it never rains when the sky is all blue, everywhere blue. That never rains. There's always some level of clouds in the sky. Even when you have a sun shower, there is clouds in the sky. You just happen to be seeing the sunlight, and the cloud is not directly above you or covering the majority of the sky. But when it rains, there are clouds. So the fact that they did not realize that there are no holes, there are no domes up there are no windows that's being opened. But these people believe that there is a dome, and it's keeping the waters above the sky. The waters above, which when you look at the blue sky, you look at the blue ocean, and these are Mediterranean people. To them, they're saying that shit. There's water there, it's blue. When I look up there, I see blue. It must be water because it rains and water comes down. So there's waters above. In one sense, you can see how people thought that. But in your modern mind, in your 8th grade mind, you should recognize that this story is a bunch of BS. That this is not a description of how the earth was formed, how the universe was formed. But let's move on, because we want to get it all in there. Verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered around us, he called seas. I wonder if they realized there were oceans. And God saw that that it was good. And God said, let the earth. Now, mind you, all these things are actually literally happening. There are a lot of Christians who say that this is just him planning, because they try to reconcile it with Genesis 2. But Verse 11. Then God said, let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed and fruit, trees of every kind on the earth, and bear fruit with its seed in it. And it was so. See, it was so. It was done then, not something that's happening later on, so that you can marry up Genesis 1 and 2, right? Because we know in Genesis 2, man is created before the plants of all the plants and everything, but they're just two different stories that were told by two different people, and then when they merged, the stories were merged together in the same book. Genesis 2 was actually, most scholars believe Genesis 2 was written first. Okay, so verse 12, and the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing the fruit with its seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and the morning and the third day. So these are literal days. And when you read this in the Hebrew, it uses the word yom each time it says day. Yom means a 24-hour day. There is nowhere in the Bible where the word yom means a day in the life of God, where First Peter says that one day to God is 1,000. A day to God is like 1,000 years to man. There's nothing other than that little statement. That's it. But in the Old Testament, when they wrote day, they meant a 24-hour day. That is a later on Christian idea in order to try to figure out how in the hell did all this shit happen and why Adam didn't die. But we got all the stuff that's put together, that all the plants and everything come together. We got the oceans being done and being separated in such a way. And it kind of relates to when the breath of this guy blows over, his hot breath, how toast is blowing. I just playing, but it got that aspect of it. I'm just checking. I check in between to see what you guys are saying. There's no water. How is there water on the sun? There's nuclear fission going on. There will be no water. I just saw that. All right, so to continue with this, where were we? So that's the third day. We halfway through with this thought process here of how the Genesis story should have made people realize there's a problem with this whole story from the Gideon. All right, that this just ain't working. The fact that they've said that it's a dome over the earth, you should have been like, hell no, this can't be the right story, because we know that the earth, that there's no dome. We see asteroids coming in, meteorites as we call them. How is there a dome? There's a light, some unknown light is being shined, and we're only on the third day. What's today? Oh, okay, Wednesday. Caught me off guard. I thought it was trash day. I can say day early. All right, so verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the dome. Y'all, I got to pause right there. That's what it is. Pause right there. And let there be lights in the dome. Not outside the dome, in the dome of the sky, to separate the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years. And let them bring light in the dome of the sky, and let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. So in day one, there's some enigmatic light. We don't know what this light is. It ain't this God, but we don't know what light is. Just some light that's shining, that's creating day and night. There's some light that created day and night for day one. There's some light that created day and night for day two. There's some light that created day and night for day three. But we don't have a sun and a moon until day 4. So how in the hell is there day and night on day 1, 2, and 3, and you don't have the sun on the earth? And then inside the dome, right, is the sun. The sun and the moon are inside the dome. And obviously, according to their beliefs and their understanding back then, so are all the stars. That's why you can have shooting stars. See, because they all inside the dome. So when these scientists are telling y'all that, that the star Stevenson is bigger than our entire solar system, see, they lying. The star Stevenson is not bigger than our entire solar system. They lying to you. When they tell you that the sun is as big as it is, no, they lying to you, because it's inside the dome. That's on the earth. And see, the dome is not the whole universe. So you can't stretch it out. You can't stretch it out and say, well, no, see, the dome goes all the way out beyond our known universe. So placing the stars and the sun, they can all be the size that they say that they are. They can all be the distance that they say that they are, because they're inside the dome of the universe, right? The dome of the universe. But that's not what it's saying. Job said the sun was the light, and the dark was the moon. Is my interpretation at first glance. At first glance, the chapter at verse 1, and the first couple of verses on the first day, yes, but we don't have a sun and the moon to the day 4. But so this said, when it talks about the dome is separating the waters above and the waters below. The dome is right here on the earth. It's on here on the earth, right on the earth. So we don't get a sun and the moon to the 4th day. But then it says it created 2 great lights. We know today that if you was reading this today, you should recognize that the moon does not create its own light. The moon simply reflects the light of the sun on its face based on its positioning around the earth. And we get different variations of that light. But they thought that the moon produced its own light. And that's why they call it the greater light and the lesser lights. Because, of course, the moon doesn't light up the night sky in the same way, and it has different settings, different phases that it goes through. And then, but you should use them for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and that's fine. Some people take the signs as them using them to, their new king is going to be born when the sun rises in the constellation of Pisces. When we're going into the new age, people use that and they take that part and that becomes astrology, right? But you can also look at that these are signs for signs and for seasons. So you can use that for that, is what I was trying to get at. You can use that for that, because if you believe in the Bible, then it says that. And so you can say that you're supposed to look at astronomical events and say that, well, these are signs of different things. Now, what you are saying they are signs for, that's where you begin to stretch it out into all sorts of areas. But there is some level of utilizing these things for signs, because it's not like I said for signs of seasons and for days and nights, but it says sign for just signs and for seasons. So signs is all by itself. So they supposed to be practicing astrology. That's why it was all right to have your star of Bethlehem. It was all right, to have an earthquake. It was all right to have this star in the sky for the shepherds. It was all right to have these things because you can use them for signs. And just as many Christians are, whatever, if it's for your religion, then it's fine. But if it's for someone else's religion, oh, it's witchcraft. All of a sudden, then it becomes witchcraft. So to continue, get through these days. That's the 4th day. So even if you were reading this book, you should be right there on the 4th day, be like, okay, something's wrong. These people don't know science. 4th day you should have been out of this by the end of reading chapter 9, by the end of reading verse 19. A critically thinking person should be like, okay, this is fairy tale, la la. But if you continue, and God said, let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures. It's interesting how swarm, that later on they're told in Leviticus, you ain't supposed to eat nothing that swarms. But let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky. So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves in every kind with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on earth. And there was evening and there was morning, and that was the 5th day. So he created all the animals, right? All the animals were created. Now, again, in the Genesis chapter 2 version, all the animals were created after man was created. After man is created. So therein lies conflict. If you made it past chapter 1 and you did read chapter 2 before you put the book down and said this is a bunch of malarkey, then you would have found that conflict as well, that the order is not the same. And it's interesting. So you would think that if this guy was planning on a perfect world, that he would have never created animals that he would later have to deem as unclean. You ever think about that? Did you ever contemplate that? That if the thought process is, I'm creating a perfect world, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fantastic. Everybody's gonna want to hang out at my earth, right? All the other guys, they're gonna want to hang out on my earth because it's gonna be perfect. I got the water, I got the beach, I got all the good animals, I got everything. And I'm creating Adam and Eve, and they're gonna be perfect. They're gonna be living in their garden, they're gonna be chilling, it's gonna be perfect. Why would he create animals that are considered unclean if he was creating perfection, if he was trying to create perfection? And it was man, of course, pastors and apologists will blame man and say, well, it is man's imperfection that messed up the perfection that God created, because God's will was to create this perfection. But if his will was to create a perfection, why make unclean animals? There's no need for it. There's no reason for it. I had one pastor at one point try to tell me that unclean animals and flies and animals that eat dead animals, all these things were created or evolved after they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, after the fall. And I was like, dude, them animals been around, flies been around, cockroaches been around way longer than this story. But he tried. So let's get on to the 6th day. And God said, so this is the 6th day. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures of every kind, cattle and creepy thing and wild animal on the earth of every kind. And it was so. So he still made the animal, the beast of the fields, before he made us. He even made the sea monsters. They probably thought a whale was a sea monster. Before he made man. And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth and every kind of cattle and every kind of everything that creepeth on the ground and every kind, and God saw that it was good. So he made all the insects. So the flies were here before. Now, people often ask me, and I'm just being stupid for a second. People often ask me if this God was real and I had and when I face this God, what am I going to say to him? Well, I'm going to ask a question. What's the purpose of gnats and mosquitoes? Gnats and mosquitoes, my guy. Mosquitoes, I can almost halfway understand. But all gnats do is buzz in a little together in a little bubble in the middle of they ain't on a plant. They're just buzzing together, and you walk through them and they get all in your face. What's the purpose of gnats? And then when you do have a gnat, they're always trying to fly up your nose. I'm going to ask that question. That's one of my questions. Gnats. What's the purpose? Goddamn gnats. Can't stand gnats. That's just my own little thing right there. He couldn't even create animals that man has domination over. Let me see you exercise your domination on a polar bear. You're absolutely right. I want to see that because it's going to get into that part in this verse in the 6th day. Matter of fact, I'm going to get to it right now. Then God said, let us make humans in our image. Now, you know, this is where the Anunnaki story comes back into play, where Anu and Harsag, Enki, Enlil, they all down in the Apsu, and they are making man. There is even a little pictograph that we found, hieroglyphic, that has like Enlil receiving a human baby. Is Enki or Enlil receiving a human baby? And they got these little test tube things on the side where they created man by augmenting the genome of the hominid that was running around so that they can make them into slaves to mine the gold for them. So that let us make man idea was already in rotation before. Even with the Kemetic story, there was a let us make some man out of clay. That was already in rotation. So let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and the cattle and over all the wild animals of the earth and over the creepy thing that creep upon the earth. Now, we got to talk about this dominion thing for a second. I'm not even going to go with a big dog. Now, when man is created, you can't think about man today. You can't think about, oh, I got dominion over a polar bear because I go out there with, a 50 cal. Because a polar bear can't do nothing against a 50 cal. You can't think like that. You can't think like that. A gnat is a mosquito's cousin. You can't think like that. You got to think about at the time frame, back in the day, man first being born up. Now, but even in today, jump your ass in the ocean and have dominion over a killer whale, over an orca. Jump in the ocean and have dominion over a shark. Get even smaller. Oh, jump in the water and think you're going to have dominion, and especially you wearing some silver, some shiny shit. Jump in the water and think you're going to have dominion over a barracuda. You ever see one like if you ever notice when they're knocking the little crap off the side of boats under the water, the knives are always black, because if they flash your knives, especially down in Florida, I saw this in Florida, them damn barracuda will tear you up, snatch your hand. I'm just saying, it said first, you got dominion over all the water, all the animals in the water. Mm-hmm. Get out there now. Don't try to show up with 50 cows and with spear guns and all that. Jump your ass in there. And I forgot the name of that jellyfish. I stepped on a jellyfish. It was dead. and I stepped on one when I was 10 years old in Miami. Even a dead jellyfish had dominion over my ass when I was 10. So man in his nakedness don't have dominion over nothing. The reason why there are time frames when I don't shoot videos outside on the back porch is because them damn mosquitoes be having dominion over me. It said have dominion over these little creepy crawly things. No, them mosquitoes got dominion. I have figured out what time of day I can go outside and not be bothered by mosquitoes. Them and especially, and Isaac Johnson, this is just for you. Especially y'all damn Texas ass mosquitoes. These Texas mosquitoes, they rude and they big. You can, in Georgia, you get bit by mosquitoes. You don't even know when. You don't realize there's a mosquito on you until after you've been bitten. You can feel these Texas mosquitoes land on you. Like they land. As soon as they land, you feel it. The oversized mosquitoes and wasp and damn Texas wasp, because I sprayed them Texas wasps with all the killer spray and they just shrugged it off. The hot shot don't work. It don't work. You got to smash these Texas wasps. But you ain't you ain't got no hot shot, you ain't got no black flag or whatever you're using. You versus the wasp. Who gonna win? Who winning? Fender, we live in a fallen world. It wasn't God's fault that it failed. Bullshit. Your God created a setup, dog. I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but this guy set man up to lose. But it set him up on a false premise. The fact that it's saying that man got dominion over all these animals. Man don't have dominion over hardly shit on this earth. The overwhelming majority of creatures on this planet, if man went to battle against them, man is going to lose. Some by strength, others by sheer number. Like man does not have all the rats. Okay, so this might disgust some of y'all, but y'all know how animals be knowing when shit is going down, right? And you remember the movie this Day After Tomorrow when they had the superstorm that was creating an ice age. Now, y'all know animals, they know when shit going down. If they did that movie accurately, when the weather first started changing, all the rats in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, all those cities, just imagine all those rats in those cities would have been rushing migration, doing a rush migration southward. They like to show y'all in the movie the birds doing it. All the birds are all fleeing from the situation. Oh, but in reality, the rats will be doing the same thing. So imagine all the rats coming out of New York, New Jersey, Philly, Pittsburgh, Boston, DC, and they all running south. How much dominion you got over this? Man will lose against the rats, right? Man loses. The rats will win. You could be shooting all you want. You ain't got enough bullets for all the rats. That's just the Northeast. Florida would be overrun by rats. Imagine all them rats coming down. If that movie was accurate, all those rats just coming down. And Texas would have been over. They showed people crossing the Rio Grande. No, it would have been hordes of rats going across. People would be drowning in rats. Imagine yourself being covered by rats, and you just drowning in rats trying to breathe. And you know that one arm go poking out the rats, but they just running all over you, and it's just wet, nasty, flea-bitten rats running. I had to go through that description for my wife because I know she's listening. Just like to create stuff like that in her mind. So y'all forgive me for that. Forgive me for that. If we're going to sit here and say that man doesn't have dominion over the earth, something is wrong. Our thinking man can destroy anything on the earth without touching it with his hands. So you're thinking about today. Today, man has certain and man still don't have dominion over the earth. We still don't have. That's why I was just saying we still don't have dominion. We don't. We have technology, but man does not have dominion. And back in the day when this shit was being written, man was one of the more fearful creatures on the planet. One of the more fearful creatures. You weren't going out into the wilderness. When people went out to the wilderness, they created the goddess Lilith. They created and added to the goddess of Lilith the idea that the reason why people go out into the wilderness and they get caught and they die is because Lilith lured them out. No. They were still afraid of the darkness. And yeah, like Kevin said, go in front of a tiger. Let's see you have dominion over it. Like people feel bad when and God's gonna protect me. And then the lion eat them, I celebrate. I be like, good. Joe said Florida will hold up. They have gators and snakes. Man, it ain't enough gators and snakes in Florida. Do you know how many? There are. How many people in New York? I think New York. I know this is a city of 8 million people, but I know it's got to be way more. There are probably 5 to 10 times more rats just in New York City. There are probably more rats in New York City than the entire population of Florida. Florida, 10 billion rats. Florida y'all ain't got enough alligators, my guy. I used to live in Tampa, so I feel you. But it's too many rats. And then they're gonna be swamp rats. And then you also go get the rats out of Atlanta too. I know they got rats. Anyway, let me finish this part. So I can stay on y'all comments and we can have more general conversation. So they made humans in total have dominion over the earth. So God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. So God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living thing that moves on the earth. God said, see, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, and it shall be for them, and you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and every bird of the air, and to everything that creepeth on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I will give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed, and it was good. And there was the evening and the morning, and this was the 6th day. Now, if you read that, I want you to think about what I just read now. I want you to think about what I just read. And I know some of y'all gonna get mad at me for this one. God says, see, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed, and you shall have it for food. Have them for food. Doesn't say anything about eating cows and chickens. But here's the weird part. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creepeth on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. There is nothing in the historicity of the biology of a lion that shows that lions were ever vegetarians. But according to this Bible, it would be one thing to say that all humans are supposed to be vegetarian. That's one thing. But it ain't just saying that all the humans are supposed to be vegetarians. It's also saying that all the animals, all the insects, God created them all vegetarians. Now, this is where Fender and other pastors have said that, well, it changed once man fell from grace and the earth became a fallen place. That's when it changed. The problem is that the archaeological record tends not to agree with that. And could you imagine how things would decompose and there's no flies to help it along, the insects ain't helping it along, that, none of that. You don't work. It's right, the tiger goes tiger, I'm with you. But yes, you were supposed to just be eating fruits and vegetables, plant life. That's it. No meat. Now, if it had stopped right there, they would have been okay. They would have been okay with that, right? But the fact that they went on to say that all the animals of the fields and all the insects also were vegetarians, that part don't work. We know that the biology of the carnivores on the planet today was still the biology of carnivores back then. And mind you, all of this is happening around 6,000, happened about 6,700, 600, 700 years ago. So all of this is happening around 4,700 BCE. And we know that 4,700 BCE, there was a whole bunch of meat eating going on. And if you're vegetarian, that's great. I used to be 90% vegetarian. Then I married my wife. She cooked too good. And I'm not saying you should eat meat, you should not eat meat. I'm saying the Bible is telling you that you're not supposed to eat meat. So it is not until the Noah story. See, if you flip on down to Genesis and you get to the Noah story, it is there. I think that's chapter 6. In the Noah story, when the flood is over, this guy reiterates and says that, for just as I've given you every green thing on the earth to eat, I now give you every animal to eat. He doesn't tell him that he don't eat the clean things yet. He just tells him you have every animal, now you can eat it. It's not, the Leviticus is when you get to the clean and the unclean. Yet he does sacrifice the unclean animals, but he can eat all the animals. So man was vegetarian, according to this Bible, up until the time frame of Noah. The flood was supposedly happening around what? Am I getting this wrong? Yeah. I think the flood was supposed to happen around 2700 BC. I mean, yeah, around 2700 BCE, somewhere around in there. So for about 2,000 years, according to the story, man was supposed to be vegetarian. Even when Abel was raising sheep. Man was vegetarian. So the question is, why in the hell is Abel raising sheep? Is that why Cain got mad at him? Because Cain is actually farming and producing what the family needs to eat, and Abel is just walking around with some sheep like pets. I mean, maybe they shave this, you only shave the sheep's wool off ever so often, and there's only 4 y'all on the planet, so it's not like you need a whole bunch of wool. What was the point of Abel having sheep if they're all vegetarian? I need a Christian to make that make sense. Can a Bible believer make that make sense to all of us? If on the 6th day you was told that you only supposed to eat the fruits and vegetables, he said Abel was the first hobbyist. That's what I think. Is that the case? And if that's the case, I don't blame Cain for being mad. It's like, look here, God, I'm doing the hard work. This joker just laying around. But it would be true to form. It would be true to form. Think about it. Think about it. Esau went out and he hunted and he provided for the family. He did the hard work. Jacob sat around the house like a mama's boy doing bullshit work, which was not real work. But who did this guy favor? The one who do the bullshit work. So y'all need to start working hard. Don't you realize that if you're Christian, you ain't supposed to work hard because God favors the one that's sneaky. But do you see the similarity between Abel and the 2 brothers? And God, and exactly doing, he cursed the ground, but Cain still made it work. Cursed ground and all, he still made it work. Now, why is this so small on my screen? You are right, sir. According to this, the thought process here. Okay, that's not what I want. Is that these are 2 separate stories. There's the thought is that the Adam and Eve story. The reason why Cain was able to find a wife is because the Genesis 1 people were created on the 6th day, and those people went about, and that's who Cain married. But that's a little bit problematic. In my studies, I've come to realize that these are 2 separate stories, actually not having anything to do with each other. You have one group of Israelites who wrote chapter 1, another group of Israelites who wrote chapter 2. Chapter 2 and chapter 1 don't connect. So there's really no contradiction because it's like 2 people trying to tell how something was created from the same background, and the stories are different. And that's why you have differences in the 2 stories. Chapter 2 really doesn't explain where all these other people come from, other than by saying that, and Cain, and not Cain, what's his name? What's the mother's name? Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters. So it wouldn't have been other people that Cain would have married. It would have been one of his sisters, if you follow the chapter 2 rhetoric. If you follow the chapter 1 rhetoric, there is no Cain and Abel. The whole Cain and Abel story is kind of like whatever. But the chapter 2 story, the chapter 1 story would be that way. But the chapter 1 story was written after the chapter 2 as a way of describing the fullness of creation. And they will be saying that on that 6th day is when the Adam and Eve story begins. So effectively, he married his sister. But I said that there was only 4 people on the planet because at that time frame, they hadn't mentioned anything about anybody else. But that's how messed up this Bible is that it, unless you get down into it, it's confusing as hell. But whoever was writing chapter 1, after they already had chapter 2, they had no knowledge of science. And yes, according to the belief of the Israelites, yes, the human race comes from a long line of incest. And even though they deem themselves the chosen ones, and this is their history, they themselves come from a long line of incest, because even after the note, so there's everybody is related to each other. And then even the wives of Shem, Ham, and Japheth would be some level of cousin before when they got married. And then of course, since they are supposed to be the only 3 childbearing women on the planet at the time frame, their children would bang each other as well. So everybody's incest is incestuous. If you are married right now, your wife is some level of your cousin, if you believe in this book. Your husband is some level of your cousin, if you believe in this book. Before they were Hebrews, they were Africans. No, the hell they weren't. They weren't Africans. They were not African at all. I understand that the Middle East is on the African continental shelf, but that is a later understanding. They not sub-Saharan African. But even if they were, let's get rid of this whole thing. Even if you did consider them African, do you realize how big Africa is? How many people groups are on Africa? I mean, you just because a person can be from Ethiopia and another person is from Namibia, they are no, they're nothing alike. We were Paleo Hebrew. I've never been, none of my ancestors have anything to do with being Hebrew. So you might want to change that we to I. Anyway, so what do you guys think about this story? Like, if you were, I know somebody on here earlier, I saw them, I'm not going to get into this, who you are, who we are nonsense. If you've only read the Quran, you've never read the Bible. I saw somebody mention that. How do you jive up these 6 days of creation? Because isn't that in the Quran the same way? No, the streams are going to be from this time because I can't go back to the evening. Evening times are just not going to work. Oh, let me put the invite up if anybody has anything they want to add to the the conversation we're having today. Coach, do you think the Bible is false? Yeah, it is a literary work of a literary creation. the Bible has very little truth in it. And of course, that truth is relative to what we're talking about. Uh, is it true that certain cities existed that the Bible mentions? Sure. Even a few people? Sure. Was the earth created in 6 days? The universe, rather, created, was our known universe created in 6 days? No. Has man ever been purely vegetarian? Nope. Has every animal ever been purely vegetarian? Nope. Did all these miracles happen? Nope. You ain't got to worry about it, Will. I will not be bringing Primer up today. I don't give a damn what if he comes into the studio area. I am not putting him up. Charles said, what about the pre-Adamite people? Who are you considering the pre-Adamite people? Because the pre-Adamite people will be any persons who existed prior to about 4700 BCE. That would be a whole bunch of people all around the world. So what do you mean by that? I'm not sure. I don't understand what you mean by that. Who is they? I want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I can't. Simply because I can't do the they. That's one of the main reasons I can't. Who is they? And it's always that they hide something. They hide something. Yeah, Joe. All religions are false. Yes, you nail on head. So the Quran speaks for 6 days. Okay. But yes, all religions are false. Rupert always got something to say, but he's never. Rupert will never come on the show to defend his argument. The Bible is 100% true. You just have to study it, and it will show you how to separate words, God's word from man's word. Your God is so powerful, but yet he let somebody mess with his word. Your God supposedly wants all people to come to him. But the way that you're supposed to come to him is by having faith and belief that this book is the inerrant word of God. But if he allows man to tamper with it, how can you legitimately accept that it is his God? But now you gotta believe in his God so that he can pierce the words for you. That just sounds like some bull. And the Bible is nowhere near 1% true. I've never seen a video talking about if you eat meat, you get burned up by the sun. Y'all are typing too fast. Cain's wife was pre-Adamite. Nope. According to the Bible, since you're saying Cain, Cain's wife was his sister. I just explained how the two books were written, the two chapters were written. Cain's wife was his sister. And like Isaac said, if the Bible was 100% true, then why are the Christians have so many variations of it? What about the Catholicism that created 24 hours under Galileo? 24 hours in a day has been around, or was around long, well before Galileo. 24 hours in a day was, you had that back in the Sumerian time frame, the Babylonian time frame. Because I think who was it? Was the Sumerians or the Akkadians who came up with this 60? You started using 60, and that's what created our 60 seconds and all that sort of thing. Yes, it was his sister. Cain married his sister. It wasn't a pre-Adamite person. See, if you believe the Bible story, there are no pre-Adamite people. There is only Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, and a whole bunch of other brothers and sisters. That's it. There's nobody else before them. No, the sun isn't out for 24 hours. This is true, but why would why would the sun be out for 24 hours? Can you imagine if if the sun had 24 hours, was out for 24 hours, then only one side of the earth would get sunlight. So you mean that, so maybe Kevin, you mean that a day so you can work longer? You know what? I thought you were being serious about something. No, a misunderstanding of Genesis, and even I, for a while, had this misunderstanding. A misunderstanding of Genesis makes you think that there were people prior to the Adam and Eve, because of the fact that Genesis 1 speaks of people being created on the sixth day, and then Genesis 2 starts out with after God had rested and had not made it rain, and then he creates Adam and Eve. The problem with that is that Genesis 2 was actually written before Genesis 1. And so Genesis 2 started out with the fact that God had not made it rain and there was nothing on the earth. And so if you take the rest, the whole 7-day rest, and take all that out and just start with Genesis 2. In fact, let me go to it. Right. And Genesis 2 originally started in the right before the right in the middle of the fourth verse. Right? Hold on, let me put it. It started right in the middle of the fourth verse. And it starts out by saying, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no vegetation of the field had sprung up. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no one to till the ground. But a steam would rise from the earth. So basically, when you read your Bibles now and they have these chapters and verses and things of that nature, that's a later editing that was done. These verses weren't there. Chapter 2 did not start with what you have in the Bible today. That was still that was added to it in order to connect the stories, where it starts out with, thus the heavens and the earth were finished and all their multitude on the sixth day. God finished his work he had done, and so he rested on the seventh day from all the works that he had done. Right. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, and because of it, God rested from all his works that he had done in creation. For these are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. That's an addition to chapter 2, or should be how chapter 1 ends. The chapter 2 just started out in the day that the Lord God had made the heavens and the earth. When no plant or field was yet. This is a whole new story, a completely different story. When you read it, it reads like a whole new story. So they weren't written together. So those people on day 6 don't account for the Adam and Eve story. The Adam and Eve story is an original of his own. I've been to the Vatican a couple of times. Depends on what you're asking about the Vatican. I know I missed some of y'all comments, so I was reading that. Right. So Isaac is saying that Cain couldn't have married his sister because they didn't have any more children until after Cain had left and went and found his wife, and then they had. Then it says they had many sons and daughters. We don't necessarily know that, right? It's not really all that definitive, because it's only mentioning Cain, Abel, and then Seth, right? And Seth being a replacement for Abel. When it says that they had many sons and daughters, it could be viewed in the sense of, in their totality, they had many sons and daughters. Because we know this book is notorious for not mentioning daughters being born to people and given a name or being part of a narrative. They'll just say they have these sons and they only talk about certain sons. The only time you hear about a woman is given a name, or you hear about a woman, she is about to be essayed or cut up or something like that. So it's not as definitive as we would like for it to be when it comes to that part of it. Sorry. But if you're looking at it and how the Bible was put together, the only possibility that he could have married anybody would have been the fact of him marrying his sister. Let me see. Yeah, because it's a bit ambiguous. When you get to chapter 5, it's chapter 5, yeah, chapter 5 is the part where it talks about him having many sons and daughters is kind of like a synopsis. It's like a summary. I was trying to say synopsis and summary at the same time. It's like a summary of his life. When Adam had lived 130 years, he became the father of a son in his likeness according to his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam, and this is where the summary kind of kicks in. The days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Adam's life were 930 years, and he died. Now you can look at that and read it in such a way that, and it can make you think that he had sons and daughters after Seth. So then Cain would not have been able to marry his sister. But it's not that definitive either, because it's just a summary statement. that we don't know when he had other sons and daughters. But just looking at the fact that Genesis chapter 1 and 2 are not unified, if you believe in the Bible, he had to marry his sister. And that's why this book can't be the word of God. You can flip this script and make it however you want it to be. There's so many, it could be this, could be that. Oh, every day, same menu, rotten fish. Every day, the same ignorance. The same ignorance. Every day. The same delusion. Every day. The same underarm pit and halitosis. Every day. My goodness. What's the big difference in children? You should have been here when I first started. I've already repeated that statement 3 times. Not repeating it again. So, like we said way in the beginning, the premise of this whole thing is that Genesis 1 should have started you on your deconstruction right off the bat. Let me see if somebody want to talk on this channel. This is on TikTok. I just noticed somebody was there. Hello? Can't hear you. Oh.
I can hear you.
Oh, there you go. Gotcha. My volume wasn't up. Okay. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Did you know that the flying spaghetti monster actually created the whole universe and God was just sitting on his lap watching?
Yes.
God and Jesus, my bad. And the Buddha.
Yeah.
And all the Hindu gods.
Mm-hmm.
They were all just,
yeah.
Pictures like George Bush reading to those kids in preschool. That's basically what it was like.
Yeah, because just last night, me and my wife celebrated and worshiped the flying spaghetti monster, and we had the spirit of the great Parmesan wheel draped over top the noodles. It was a great ceremony. Should have been there.
It sounds like you already are apostifying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did not. The Bible is a bunch of BS. So yes. Pastafarism is better.
Is done. You believe in the great flying spaghetti monster and all that it created, especially all the religions that people follow. So now you're going to spread its word.
Yeah.
Have a good day, man.
Yeah, you have a great one as well. We were visited by an emissary of the great flying spaghetti monster on Saturday. The Pastafari. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm still smoking my cigar, but TikTok will be all right. I appreciate the spaghetti monster. Now I gotta make this big because I still got my cigar. Josie, you say that there was another civilization that existed alongside Adam and Eve. What civilization would that be? And can you prove that Adam and Eve actually existed? What is the proof of Adam and Eve other than the Bible? And Dre Light, I like your statement. If reading is to acquire knowledge, why reading any book that tells you not to lean on your own understanding? Right? Why would I believe in a book that wants me to not understand it, not gain wisdom? Why would I want to lean on a book that causes me to sit there and be in ignorance? because the only understanding you're leaning on is the understanding of different people who've written different doctrines at different times. Silver on TikTok asked me, are you a believer? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you are a believer, you are more than welcome to come on here, Silver, and argue your point for how do these 6 days of creation make any sense whatsoever. Oh, you're not? Okay, cool. Yeah, I know my little picture can be a little misleading that I got on TikTok today. I'd recognize that now. But let's bring Silver up. Welcome to. How you doing, Silver?
Hey man, just right along with you, man. Hanging in there. It's just I thought you were one of the other crazy ones. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I know I'm gonna have to change this picture today. Is the picture I got up here today is kind of misleading, I guess.
No, I know. And I just like to pick people's brain when they say this, so I don't confront them. I just want to say, hey, what do you believe in? And when I heard that you're not, and I'm not either, so I can't fall into the BS, you know.
Yeah, nor can I. I can't do it, and I used to. I used to be deep into the Bible, believed in it wholeheartedly, but you know, I had to walk away from it.
I'm right there with you, man. I was born into a Muslim family, my whole family practicing, and I just think that it's a man-made racket, man. Just making money. It's like a drink. It's like a heroin. Religion's like a drug. Once you're on it, you're done. You're done. You know, very few people realize that they've been fooled. You know.
Yeah, and you're right. It is like a drug, and they do fall for it. And that's the thing. It keeps their mind numb, and it allows for them to be able to stay with something that absolve them of their own personal responsibilities. You know?
Yeah. My thing is, you know, the Almighty, if He's loving God, so how He letting kids die to hunger? There's more power. There's more poor people in the world than there's rich people, and I really admire people who are poor, and they okay, fine, if they believe in God, that's good. But these rich folks who preach God to us and all this bullshit, I'm like, hey man, stay hungry for 2 or 3 days and see if you still believe in God, like you know. No, that's my good.
No, I'm with I can agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, if you are a rich person, claim that you believe in this God, but yet you are doing so much more harm to the world, and then you're not doing the justice to the world that you claim that your God says that you're going to do, that you're supposed to do. There is a lapse in the judgment of feeding the taking care of the orphans and taking care of the widows. When the Jesus character asked the rich man to give up all his possessions and follow him, which was a repeated theme of this Jesus character, was to give up your possessions, but yet that doesn't happen. You know.
So and then another thing is, so all 3 religions, right? The Judaism, Christianity, they're preaching the same old crap for centuries. I'm not even sure. I won't even go far as far as saying I don't even know if any of these characters ever existed. Who knows? Who knows? If there really was a man-made Jesus, or Muhammad, or Moses, or Abraham. Who the heck knows? What happened 10,000 years ago? 10,000 years went by like you know, it's like a blink of an eye. You know, the world's been around, the planet's been around for fucking, you know, millions of years.
Oh, I'm with you. Now, I do think that, so like there are, as far as there being one historical like Jesus character, no, definitely not.
None.
Josephus wrote.
It's probably a man-made, like in the whole Satan bullshit too. Oh yeah, there's one Satan fucking misguiding us. Why the fuck does God not stop him and say, hey man, stop fucking with my people, let them live, And I don't get it. That shit is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I can't. It's unacceptable for me. I won't worship it. I won't, bet my life on it or, live my life by it, because you're just giving away your life to controls of other people and governments and organizations, and there's absolutely no rationale to do that.
Yep, and more people have been killed over the name of God than any other wars. We've got more wars throughout history. And Muslims, the Crusades, the Jews, for what? I just don't get it.
Yeah, you keep going mumbled out a little bit, but I get what you're saying. But yes, there's too many wars and things of that nature has happened because of belief in these religions. Like even right now, I posted a video yesterday where if a person believes in this Bible, then they should believe that it is okay for the Israel to be doing what they're doing to the Palestinians, and they should be able to extend that all the way out into Iraq, because they were promised through Abraham the lands all the way to the Euphrates. So they should be able to genocide and enslave those people if you believe in this Bible. And how can you call that a good God or consider yourself a good person?
That's a freaking man. That really hit it right on the nail.
Yeah.
How could you what God is gonna say killing innocent children from my distance is immorality? I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah. I agree with you. And that's why I have this channel, so that people of like mind can come together and learn and discuss things. That's why I deal with a lot of historical things, aspects of it, and breaking it.
Were you a pastor or just a believer?
No, I was I was over the teen ministry for a while. I was a deacon and chairman of the deacon, and I was chairman of the deacon board. But everything else, as far as my studies, it was, I was born in 71. So it was requesting information from the Library of Congress, going to college libraries that had seminary school, that had religious studies schools, and then going to different places around the world like Israel and Saudi Arabia and Spain, Italy, and all these places, the Lebanon and Syria. And actually going to them.
I mean, like out in the United States, the white man, black folks have been fooled into believing this, that you want to live, you gotta accept Jesus Christ as a Savior.
You're muffled, dude. Silver, you're muffled as hell. I didn't understand that you say.
Oh, I'm sorry, my connection's bad, huh? I'm sorry. Let me try it out and come back in.
All right. Primer, I'm not letting you up because you were just up here. I don't want to talk to the same people every day. And then you're a circle debater, so it doesn't matter. And you think that I'm running, I don't have to run from anyone. I'm right here. But I don't want to talk to you. Just because you want to talk to me doesn't mean just because you want to come up on the show doesn't mean I have to let you come up on the show. This is my show. I let whoever want come up here. Oh shoot! I'm sorry. I did not mean to hit that. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. I know you didn't request to come up. I thought that you was the guy who was just on, who was trying to come back. So my apologies. If you didn't want to come up, you didn't have to.
No, you good. Before I get off, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Are Are you a Freemason?
Yes, I am.
PHA?
No, ancient, free, and accepted.
PHO?
Ancient, free, and accepted.
Oh, okay. Master Mason?
As we all are.
Any appendant?
Any what?
Appendant bodies?
Yeah, but I don't really talk about them.
Why not?
I mean, because they're all, because everybody's a master mason. That's like where everybody is on the square. That's where everybody is equal. Unless I'm in that house, unless I'm in that situation, that's when I talk about it. You understand what I'm saying?
What is it like against your oath to speak about it? Like what rate you're on?
I didn't understand you. What did you just say?
Is it against your obligation or something
Oh,
to
no.
speak about what rate you're in?
No, it's not against the obligation. I mean, there are certain things within each degree that you can't talk about. That's under your obligation. But as far as so, let's say like the red house, unless I'm dealing with somebody in the red house, I don't really talk about the red house. If I'm dealing with somebody, so let me just use numbers. If I'm dealing with another 30 second, then I'll talk to another 30 second.
No, I understand the red house, blue house analogy.
Right. So if I'm in the presence of another 30 second and whether we're in lodge or not, we'll talk. But just in a general, I have this degree and that degree. I'm in this house and that house. I don't really talk about it because there's no reason to.
Why not, bro? Like, bro, why not, bro? I'm only asking, like, what right are you in? Like, you sound York.
I mean, Scottish right.
Oh, okay. 30 second?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But see, even that Scottish right, York right, it's unity though. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one thing that's one reason why I don't like going, you Scottish right, your York right, your PHO, your PHA, all those. It's like, are we brothers or are we not? That's all that matters. Are we all third degree? Yes. Are we brothers? Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but you also have to be able to differentiate the rights because they both have different teachings.
Are you a traveler?
What you say?
Are you a Mason?
No.
Okay. You just have been studying it, obviously.
My grandfather was.
Grandfather was. All right.
And my uncle.
Okay. So I don't feel so if let's say I met you, right? There are certain, of course, there are certain ways that we will be able to identify each other, whether through words or words or body language. We'd be able to identify each other. So if I can't identify you, then I'm not going to talk to you about the different degrees because that would violate the obligations. Because I don't know what kind of man you are. Doesn't mean that you're a bad man. You might be a great guy.
But there's certain things you can't speak on, though, bro.
There are certain things.
Yeah, I'm not asking nothing crazy.
Yeah, you're right. You haven't asked anything
like,
crazy.
What's your obligation or nothing?
You haven't asked anything that's crazy. You are absolutely right. And I've answered them. I like to put make sure that, so I'm the type of person that, and this is for anything in my life, really. I like people to know where I stand and how far I will go in any discussion when we first start, instead of waiting. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, so I have a relationship channel, and I was just talking yesterday how in the first week of meeting a woman, I will tell her every yes and no, do's and don'ts, deal breakers, day one, and everything about me from the beginning, because I need you to know who I am first, right off the bat. So I'm just a very upfront person when it comes to stuff like that. So that's all.
Oh, okay, for sure. Would you be able to tell me what the G means and the compass?
It's just the great architect, and the compass is his tool. I can tell you that much.
Oh.
Now, the grand architect is not the Christian God, the Muslim God, or any other God. It is the thing about Masonry is that you don't have to believe in any one individual God, but you just have to believe that there is a higher power or the possibility of a higher power, and you cannot worship any type of what any religion would call a demonic God. So, and understand a demonic God within their pantheon. So if you believed in the devil of the Christian Bible, you can't be one. If you believe, but you can be a Zoroastrian and believe in Ahura Mazda. And even though the Christians would look at Ahura Mazda as a devil, a demon god, but Ahura Mazda in the Zoroastrian is the good god, and Agramenia is the bad god. So you couldn't be a worshiper of Agramenia, but you could be a worshiper of Ahura Mazda. So the G, the grand architect, at the base level of understanding within Masonry, would be any benevolent God that you believe in, or source, or or what you call it, source or energy that you would accept. But it's the grand architect of the universe. Or as some, like a dude is Mayan on YouTube saying, some Masons do say the great architect of the universe. My lodge always said the lodge I grew up in said the grand architect of the universe.
Oh, okay. What about the checkerboard or the chessboard, excuse me?
Well, I feel like you already know this information.
No, I really don't.
It's just
my grandfather was a Mason and my uncle.
And you don't talk to them?
Nah, I do, but they don't really tell me too much.
I mean, here's the thing about it. I'm gonna tell you something.
They didn't even tell me they were Masons at first.
Some Masons take it to a level of secrecy that is unnecessary, especially when you're dealing with your own family. My grandfather was that way, right? My grandfather, I didn't really know that my grandfather was a Mason until I saw him coming out of the lodge. That's when I found out he was a Mason. But I have a cousin. My cousin is the one who was able to tell me a lot more things. But we have books that you can go and buy, and it'll tell you every question you're asking right now. It'll tell you everything about it, and it's books that we use, right? Why the name of the book just fell out my head that I used to use. I haven't participated in Masonry in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Well, business for one, so I didn't have the time to do it. And then I just moved to Texas 9 months ago. And I don't just join any lodge that I roll up on. So the thing about the checkerboard, at a base level, it is how Masons plan their day, plan their construction of their life. Right. It was used by Hiram Abiff to plan for the building of Solomon's temple. So it'd be like a blueprint that an architect would use. Now there's more to it, but that's like a basic.
Wait, so like, what did he use it for? Like use it for the temple. Like, how did he use it?
Well, in a lodge, or how do you use it in your life?
Now, like, how did Hiram Abiff use it for you said the Solomon's Temple?
It was just it was like the place that he drew his plans up on. That's pretty much it. Just the place he drew his plans up on.
Oh, okay. So, like, I see, like, in lodges, there's, like, ancient Egyptian gods. So, if I'm not mistaken, wouldn't that mean, like, Freemasons were also the ancient Egyptians? If I'm not mistaken.
No.
I've heard that they built pyramids too.
Right. So a lot of people look at Masonry today, especially people of color will look at Masonry and say, "Oh, Masonry started in England." It was kind of reimagined or reconstructed in England, but Masonry actually goes back to the to the pyramid builders, to the builders of ancient civilizations, and most of it is centered on the Egyptian builders, although it could go back to the ancient Sumerian builders as well.
Really?
But it goes back to the ancient builders, the pyramid builders. It doesn't just go back to the time frame of the builders of Solomon Temple. But because it was kind of reborn in England on a large scale, it became centered on the building of Solomon's Temple because these were Christians who had rediscovered Masonry. But prior to that, Masonry included people of every ancient culture, whether Greek or Egyptian or anyone else, Sumerian, any Mesopotamian, all those Mediterranean people had participation in Masonry.
Sure, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, but
so that would be why they use ancient Egyptian stuff in the things.
Yeah, there's some Egyptian things and themes in there. There's a lot of Christian themes. There's Hebrew themes. So you got a little bit of all. There's Greek themes. There's Roman themes within it. What other culture right off the top? I'm just trying to think of things that's off the top of my head in the first 3 degrees. Yeah, but even when you going through all the degrees, there's a lot of just ancient Mediterranean themes throughout.
Hell yeah, bro. So alright, bro.
Yeah.
You know how these TikTokers be and stuff, bro.
Yeah.
I came across a few videos. They're talking about some. At the 33rd degree, you gotta worship Lucifer and stuff. Have you heard that, bro?
I've heard people who don't know anything about Masonry saying that at the 33rd degree you worship.
Explain that to me.
So I've heard people, yes, I've heard people say that. These are generally people who, ever since the anti-Masonic party rose up in the 1950s and started spreading these types of lies, that people have bought into it. The same way that they killed the Knights Templars by starting lies in the 11th century. There is no forced worship of any deity. And in Masonry, Lucifer is not a deity at all. Lucifer is recognized as the planet Venus at the higher levels. I will tell you that. That goes beyond what I should be saying. But, I can actually say that one. But Lucifer is not. It's the planet Venus. It's recognized as the planet Venus. It's recognized as a light bringer. It's the brightest thing in the sky before the sun rises, and the sun brings light. Light is a representation of awareness in Masonry, of enlightenment in Masonry. As a man becomes enlightened, he becomes a better man. And the whole idea of Masonry is making good men better, not making a bad man into a good man, making already good men into better men by bringing them into the enlightenment of how the universe works, how you work as an individual person, and how you can be a better person within your family and your community. So at the 33rd degree, there is no worshiping of Lucifer. You don't make a pledge to Lucifer. You don't, because there is no deity of Lucifer.
So why do you use Venus?
Huh?
So why do you use Venus? Like, why Venus?
Because where the sun rises, Venus, you can see the planet Venus. Like before dawn, if you go outside before dawn, the brightest star in the east is Venus. They thought it was a star, but it's a planet. But the brightest light in the sky is the planet Venus. And wherever Venus is before dawn, that's where the sun is going to rise. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so like why do you use that?
It's not me using it. That's what happens. Like, so the sun, in Masonry, we look to the east because the sun rises in the east, because that's where illumination comes from. That's where light comes from. So that's where enlightenment comes from. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So we look to the east, symbolizing where the sun rises, because the sun rises in the east. Venus is not being used as something that's abnormal. Wherever the sun rises, before that, the brightest light in the sky is Venus. Is the planet Venus. It just is. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not. So it's not a, oh, I want to choose Venus because it's the Virgin or something else or whatever. It's because when you in nature, that's where the sun rises. If it was Saturn, then it'd be Saturn. If it was Jupiter, it'd be Jupiter. It wouldn't matter what the planet is. It's just whatever it is the brightest thing, and it's always where the sun is going to rise.
Oh, okay. Is it true that George Washington was a Mason?
Yeah. Most of the original signers of the Constitution were Masons.
But why did they let George Washington become one if he was a slave owner, bro?
Because slavery was part of normal society to those people at that time frame. They didn't have the same morality we have today.
But that was never a good morality.
It wasn't. And which is one of the reasons why I don't accept the Bible, because it's never been a good morality. But most people are products of their environment, of their time. And if you were living in the 1600s, slavery would have been a normal thing that you would have been growing up seeing and doing and thinking that that's common. Like, how old are you?
21.
Okay, perfect example. To you, cell phones are normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you saw somebody without a cell phone or somebody, you think that was weird. Or if you went into somebody's house and they had a road.
No, hell no, I wouldn't think that was weird. I would think they smart as shit.
Okay. But if you went into somebody's house and they had a rotary phone in their house, what would you think about that? You know what a rotary phone is?
Well, like the sits on the wall?
Well, no, a rotary phone is even older. It's the one that you got to put your finger in the hole and you got to spin it around. And then if you don't get it right, you have to start over, and you have to spin with each number, and each number has a different level of spin that you do. And that was how we called people when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. Now in the 80s, we did start getting the touch tone phones that you're talking about that you put on the wall with a long ass cord.
Mm-hmm.
But to you, that would be strange, right?
No.
Man, come on now.
I'm black, nigga. That shit work. It work. Fuck it.
No, because so my kids are.
I know what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Damn.
Yeah.
So you're a product of your environment. The internet is a normal thing for you. The cell phones are a normal thing. The world being connected like it is and being able to find out what's going on anywhere in the world, that's a normal thing for you. You're a product of your environment. For persons, for me, that was an innovation. That was a change. But what was normal for half of my life was not having any of those things, was not having a cell phone, not having, the internet, actually having to remember a phone number, So for George Washington, having slaves was a normal part of society, because for the from his perspective, for the previous, 8,000 years of man's existence, slavery was a norm. So it really took people realizing, coming into an enlightened stage, to say that nobody should own another person. But it's just like the idea of there only being one political party in America was seen like a strange idea today. But during George Washington's time, there was only one political party for the United States.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, not every Prince Hall Lodge is legit.
Well, there's a lot of, well, like you said, PHO. I don't think PHO, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look them up.
No. Even some PHA lodges.
Some of them aren't. Some lodges aren't.
Well, why?
Because they may not have a charter. They may not have gained a charter from their state or their region, and that charter hasn't been recorded in DC or in England. And so if you don't have a charter, then you're not a legit lodge. And the only thing that what the charter does for you, it legitimizes the fact that you're teaching Masonry correct. That's all it really does. That's the purpose of it. It does have some other issues, but that's the purpose. That's the original purpose of having chartered lodges, is to make sure that it's being taught correctly.
Oh, okay.
And even still with a charter, I've been in lodges that don't teach it right, that are still teaching things kind of off.
Why?
Because of humans. Humans are going to be, people are going to people. Yeah. People are going to sometimes teach things based on their history, their life, their experiences. That's the same reason why you got 40,000 variations of Christianity, because people are teaching it based on their history, their thoughts on it. So yeah. And some of the things may seem like a good thing. Like I had an issue with a guy who was saying that Masonry you shouldn't become a Mason if you want to network and build and grow in business and grow in politics. You shouldn't join Masonry for that. Masonry is about giving to charity. And I was like, the lie you telling, that is not what Masonry, that's a part of it, But many of your PHA lodges have gotten so caught into the mindset that it's all about charity that they forgot that Masonry is about the men of Masonry becoming of greater value to the community, becoming financially independent, becoming leaders within the community. They've forgotten about that. And they just think they're supposed to just be out there having fish fries and shit so they can donate money for backpacks for schools and feeding people, and which are all great things. But you're also supposed to be becoming a leader in your community and guiding people based on the fact that you are a better person and you're benefiting the welfare of the people. So, yeah. And I almost got, that was when I was first coming in. So I almost got blackballed and I wouldn't have been able to become one.
Blackboard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Masonic term.
I don't know if it's a Masonic term. I don't know if the term was around before Masonry. I don't know where that term originated from, but it has the same meaning, that if you get blackballed, then you are not acceptable to any lodge unless you go through another process at a different lodge.
Oh, okay. My grandfather.
Wait a minute, hold on for a second. Somebody asked me a question on Facebook that I wanted to answer. Kevin is asking, is there a difference between Masonry and Freemasonry? The terms are interchangeable. You can say that somebody is practicing Masonry or somebody's practicing Freemasonry. I use Freemasonry just to make sure I'm designating between someone who actually goes out there and lay bricks in a construction site. But go ahead, what were you saying about your grandfather?
Yeah, so my grandfather, he was PHA, if that's what you want to call it. And he was also, he told me OES. Now, two things. How can he, like, from a Mason's perspective, is he lying because isn't OES for the females?
No, he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. So OES, the Eastern Order of the Eastern Stars, those are the lodge. That's the lodge created for the wives, sisters, daughters of Masons. They are not. They don't get all the rights of a Mason, but they have their own thing about being good women, making women better. But a OES lodge has to have a Freemason who oversees their lodge. They have their own young lady who will be in charge of the lodge, but he oversees it. So in order for him to oversee it, he has to become an OES. You know, so you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And then also a lot of men become OESs because that's how you, like, I never became an OES. So I don't know how to greet another sister. Like there's a certain way you greet an OES as a Mason, but you have to become one in order to greet one. But I never did it. So when I meet an OES, I always tell the sister, I'm not OES, so I don't know how to greet you, but you still but you know you're my sister. And most of the time they're like, you know, no problem. And we're going about our business. Hold on for a second. No, yeah, because I'm also on Facebook and YouTube, so I want to be catch everybody. And so it's two questions on here. Yeah, do you guys use a lot of astrology? And I guess Cruz is talking about in Masonry. There is a certain level of astrology used in Masonry, not as much. It's about, I would say about a quarter of the things may use astrology. The overwhelming majority of it use metaphors based on construction, on building, you know, like stones and pillars and things like stairwells and things of that nature. And Isaac is asking, Coach, since you were talking about Masons, when you were a Christian, did you have issues with swearing an oath to be a Mason or even a Marine, since the Bible forbids swearing oaths? So I wasn't Christian. By the time I became a Mason, I wasn't Christian anymore. So there was no issue with that. But as a Marine, I didn't have a problem swearing an oath, because even when I was a Christian, the idea of you can't swear an oath, I thought was a ridiculous statement, because you swear oaths within the Bible. You know, you're swearing an oath to this God. So I thought that was dumb. So so I didn't have a problem with it. Some Christians do. And this is why Jehovah's Witnesses don't participate. That's one of the reasons Jehovah's Witnesses and I believe Seventh-day Adventists don't participate in the military. And are blacks allowed to be Prince Hall Mason? Prince Hall Masonry was started so that blacks can be Masons in the Americas. So you got, okay. So that's the questions I was asking on that. Yeah, most Prince Halls are black. You do have some white Prince Hall Masons. But Prince Hall was a black gentleman, I believe in 1700s. I'm not sure about the history of it, but around the 1700s, he wanted to become a Mason. They wouldn't let him they wouldn't let him because he was black. He went to, because he thought Masonry would be good for black people. So he went to England, got a charter, came back, started the Prince Hall Lodge #1. Then, but the charter only allowed them to go up to the 2nd degree, but he was like, to hell with that, and they did the 3rd degree anyway. And they've been in existence ever since. And more recently, about 7 years ago, a treaty was signed between the Blue Lodges and the Prince Hall Lodge, so that they're all unified now. So if that answers, I forgot who asked that question, their question. You got anything else?
Yeah, so my grandfather, right, he won't teach, like, there's only so much he tells me. So he's PHA, he's OES. So I looked it up and I seen the symbol. It was an inverted pentagram. So I went to him about it and I showed him, and he said that it means the point pointing to the bottom, it just represents it pointing to the east. But then I talked to OES female, and she told me that it just represents the elements. So now I'm like, all right, bro, who's lying? Who's telling the truth?
In Masonry, I can tell you this about me. Let me tell you this about Masonry. There can be two truths at the very same time. So a symbol in Masonry can have multiple truths to it as far as its meanings. I do know it does point to the elements, but I also know it also points to aspects like loyalty, prudence, justice, things of that nature. So one symbol can have multiple meanings. So it doesn't mean that somebody's lying. They're just not telling you all the meanings of it. Like you asked about the checkerboard, it has more meanings than just the drawing board for construction, for your planning. There are other meanings as well. The black and the white represents duality and our dualistic nature. So there are multiple meanings. So it doesn't mean your grandfather's lying or the OES sister is lying. They're just telling you the different meanings, and they're probably just telling you the one that means the most to them.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a guy on TikTok. There's two guys on TikTok. They do a show almost every day called Ask a Freemason. Now they provide a lot more information, and they're active.
Oh, I never heard of it.
You just have to search for them on TikTok, but they're active. They're still active Masons, and Masonry has been coming forward more with telling people more about it because of all the negative rhetoric. And personally, I think Masonry made, actually, I wrote a whole affidavit to the lodge in DC about the fact that the reason why Masonry has such negative viewpoints by so many people is because from the 1950s up until more recent times, Masonry never tried to defend itself because the majority of men were Masons. But now that those numbers have shifted, you need to defend yourself. Masonry should be defended. I don't know if my affidavit made any sense, made any difference, but it could have been the fact that at the time frame, there was a huge campaign within Masons to write letters to DC saying we need to defend Masonry and stop letting these people who don't know shit about it decide what the narrative is. So the lodge, the Grand Lodge of Indiana had, I think it's Indiana or Illinois, it's one of those. They actually has taken on the primary work of educating people on Masonry. Because at the end of the day, it's about having good morals and taking care of your community, taking care of your family, being the best person you can be without injuring yourself. Hold on, and this is a good question that somebody asked on YouTube. What is the purpose of secret Mason knowledge, and do they also all know the kinds of things you talk about on religion? Okay, need you to work on how you phrase your questions, Truth. What is the purpose of secret Mason knowledge? The reason why some of the information in Masonry is kept away from the general public is because of the stance that Masonry is about making good men better. Enlightenment in the hands of a bad person will wreak havoc on society. A person knowing how to maneuver with hermetic influence and they have greedy things in mind is a bad thing. So they don't need to know all things. Plus, Masonry is about good men being able to trust another good man, and you don't even know that man. You know that they're a Mason, so that if you have to be a good man already to become one, and if I meet you on the side of the road, I should be able to automatically know that I could trust you, right? So that's the other aspect of it. And he said, do they all know those kinds of things I talk about on religion? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They should, but they don't. Most of your Masons believe in one of the major religions. Anything else?
Yeah, is it true that if you get pulled over by a Mason and you're a Mason, they have to let you go?
They have to let you what?
You go? Like they gotta let you free?
Oh, you mean like a cop?
Yeah.
No, they don't have to. No, they don't have to. Now, I will say this. As a Mason, when I have been pulled over by a police officer, and the majority of your police officers are Masons, I am more likely, if I haven't done anything too bad, I am more likely to get a warning. So let's say I'm only going 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. I'm more likely to just get a warning. Now, if I'm going 20 or 30 miles over the speed limit, no, they're gonna write me a ticket. And as a matter of fact, they'll probably write me a ticket and be like, as a Mason, you know you ain't supposed to be speeding. You know you're supposed to be law-abiding. So the fact that you're driving like that, you are in violation of your oath in Masonry. The fact that you're driving this fast, and yeah, I will admit I have taken advantage of the fact that I am a Mason. When I've been pulled over by a cop, I'll make sure that cop knows that I'm a Mason, just in case he's one of the kinds that just don't let me go. But no, they don't. They're not under any obligation to let you go. No,
Oh,
not even slightly. But let me tell you something about the brotherhood. I was riding my motorcycle across country, and it broke, and my bike broke down in the worst place on the highway right before you cross into Memphis, coming from, uh, coming from Oklahoma City, and there's we have certain way body language that we use in order to let other people know we're Mason, right? And because I was in this spot, I used my body language to let people know passing by that I was a Mason that needed help. And within about 10 minutes, a brother pulled up on the frontage side of the road, and he helped me get my bike fixed, made sure I got to my hotel for the time frame I was in Memphis. If I needed anything, he was like, just call me, and he was there. So that's part of the brotherhood, you know, is that we're there for one another in good times and bad times. Al said, don't Mason have a white origin? No, it has more of an Egyptian Mesopotamian origin, not a white origin. It's just that it was rediscovered, like I said earlier, by England, up in England and Scotland.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. My grandfather said something different about that question right there.
About the cops?
Nah, about the origin.
Oh, that what he said, it came from white people?
He didn't really say that, but he said that it doesn't come from like ancient times, and I know it does. I literally know it does, and he literally just confirmed it. So I'm about to go cook him with that.
Well, and if all they're teaching you is what's in law, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Now he says that it only goes back to the times of the Halliwell poem or song.
So modern day, what the what?
The Halliwell poem.
I don't even know what that is. Now he's PHA, so they might have some different things that they talk about, because there are a few things that PHA do different that is foreign to me. But the thing,
if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's like the oldest piece of like history in Freemasonry.
it sounds like he's only taking it back as far as England, but even in his book of rituals and rites, it goes back to the time of Solomon and the builders of Solomon. And I know they deal with Hiram Abiff and the builders of Solomon. So he has to at least go back to that time frame. And it really goes back to the time frame of Egypt. But you got to think, is your grandfather Christian?
Nope.
Oh, he's not?
Nope.
Okay. Wait. Let me put it in a different way then. Most PHAs are Christian based. And so being Christian based, there's a initial affront to anything Egyptian, because Egypt was the one who held the Jews in slavery and all that kind of bullshit and always looked upon negatively. So they want to keep themselves separated. And they don't like Egypt. But for him to not recognize that it goes at least back to the building of the building of the Second Temple. So that would predate the white people. That would predate the European reorganization of Masonry.
Oh, okay. Is the highest degree 32 or 33?
Okay,
My grandfather says it's 33.
Okay.
But then other people say it's 32.
Okay. So the phrasing of your question has a dualistic statement. You said the highest degree. Out of 32 and 33, the higher degree is the 33rd degree, right? Out of those two. But there are degrees that are higher than 33 degrees. Most people don't attain 32nd or 33rd, but there are degrees that go beyond the 33rd. You asked earlier about the compass, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many degrees does a compass have? Can a compass make?
90.
Nope. A compass.
360.
There you go.
Okay.
So then, therefore, how many degrees are there in masonry?
360.
There you go.
How is it 360 though? If it only goes up to 33?
Because it doesn't.
Doesn't.
It goes to 360 degrees. Now, there may
360 degrees,
and there are only a handful of masons that have ever and will at any one given time reach that level. And you will not find any books on it, pamphlets on it. It is beyond, it is of the old ways where everything is memorized.
Damn.
So back in the day, like you mentioned George Washington, back in George Washington's day, the little black ritual book, you had to memorize that entire book. You had to memorize every aspect of every degree. You know, but nobody does. Well, I ain't gonna say nobody, because I actually have met guys who have memorized every degree that they are on and could quote that damn and could just pop, you know, run with it. Kevin Willis on Facebook, he said, do you have to swear on the Bible in Freemasonry? No. You can choose whatever book you want to say your oath on. For me, I had the Corpus Hermeticum and the Kabbalion. Most Masonic lodges are supposed to have on their altar a Bible and a Quran, because that's the overwhelming majority of the people on the planet. But you can have the Vedas, you can have the Bhagavad Gita, whatever book where your idea of a higher power comes from is whatever you can have on there. So if you were a Scientologist, you can have L. Ron Hubbard's book on there. I don't think I ever met a Scientologist who's a Mason though. But you can have the Book of Mormon. Doesn't matter, even though I think Mormonism is against Masonry. Anything else? Since you're not changed the whole direction of my damn, it's all right. My show always changes. But while you're thinking truth, no, you cannot be an atheist and be a Mason. You can get away as agnostic, depending upon the lodge you go to. You can do that one. At the time frame, I was studying Hermetics, and I've been studying Hermetics, but I was more geared towards the all from Hermeticism. So that was allowable in the lodge that I joined. You got something else?
Yeah, was Aleister Crowley a Mason or Freemason?
You know, I don't know. I'm not sure if he was. I don't think he was, but I don't know. I can't say that definitely. I'm not sure if he ever became a Mason or if he ever was a Mason. I've never researched Aleister Crowley as far as that aspect of his life. I've researched other aspects of his life, but I don't recall that coming up. It may have. I just don't recall it. And no, you can't just believe in yourself as God. That was somebody asked on YouTube.
Albert Pike, was he? I'm sure what's that?
Albert Pike was a Mason, yes.
Yeah, I know he was a Mason, but like, was he a 32nd degree Mason or was he a 33rd?
I have no idea. I would assume that he was most likely a 33rd degree Mason, but I truly don't know.
I also heard that Benjamin Franklin was a Mason.
Yep.
Oh shit. Yeah, bro.
Up until the 1950s, most men were Masons.
Why don't they teach this in schools, bro?
Why would they?
This is history, bro.
I mean, there's a lot of history that's not taught in school, but why would they teach that in school? The overwhelming majority of the presidents, the overwhelming majority of the people who become presidents have been Masons. Most of the world leaders have been Masons in modern times, especially back in the 50s and earlier.
Oh, okay. All right, this is gonna be my last question, bro. Then I'm gonna get off here, bro.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name. Have you ever heard of Jabalun?
Who?
Huh?
What was that name you tried to? Are you trying to say Jacques de Molay? Or Jubilon?
Nah, I know who Jacques de Molay is.
You saying Jubilon?
If that's how you say it, Jabalun.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, what is this?
Become a Mason. That's going too far into the rituals and the rites.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So that's against your obligation to speak against about?
Yeah, to be able to speak about yeah, that would be. But here's the thing. You seem very inquisitive. And a lot of the things that you want to know, you won't know until you become one. So if you really want to learn these things, then you should go and become a Mason. If you get to a point where you find that maybe it's not for you, you can always walk away from it. You don't have to stay.
Bro,
but
my grandfather and uncle both told both of their lodges that I'm not allowed to join.
Why?
I have no clue.
Do you have felonies?
No.
So you don't have felonies. Are you an atheist?
No.
Okay. I don't know why they're not telling you that. That's just their personal opinion. Are you a bad person?
I don't know.
That's their personal opinion. And at some point, you're 21 years old. Now, I give people to the age of 30 to become their own person. But as a 21-year-old, I go ahead and incentivize you to understand that the life that you will have in your 40s and 50s will be based on the decisions that you make now in your life. Right now, though, at 21, a lot of your life decisions are still based on your family members, whoever you give authority to, and whoever have been teaching you your whole life. But as the trueness of adulting is when you begin to make your own decisions based on what you think is the right thing to do. So just because they're telling you that you can't join, you're 21, so you're of age to join.
No, I'm already knowing that, but it's like they told their lodges I cannot join their lodges, so I don't know how that works. I don't know.
So go to another lodge. That's crazy to me that they're telling you that you can't join their lodge. That sounds like a personal issue that they have. Because are they still members of that lodge?
Yeah.
And they have a personal issue towards you.
Nah, they definitely don't.
If they're telling you you can't join their lodge and you're not a felon, you believe in a higher power, you are a good guy, they have a personal reason why they don't want you to join their lodge that they're still members of. You see how that doesn't make any sense?
Oh no.
So I would ask them why you don't want me to join your particular lodge. And if they persist, then you are under no obligation to join that lodge. You can join any other lodge.
Oh, okay, so just so they're not gonna make calls to the other lodges and say, I can't join those ones. So that's not how it works.
I mean, they can. They most certainly can try to do that if they know about it. But before I do that, I would ask them why. I would need to know why they are saying that. Do they think that somebody on Facebook, one person on Facebook said that you can't hold secrets? Do you?
Well, that's what you said about me.
Yeah, they're saying that about you. Like you can't hold a secret. Is that do you have problems with honoring the obligations?
Nigga, I'm black. Nigga, what you mean?
That being black don't mean shit.
Bro, that mean a lot of shit, bro.
So let me tell you something about true masonry. True masonry ain't got nothing to do with you being black, white, or any other color. It's about the character of the person. So can you hold secrets?
I definitely can.
Because I will admit, I was a lot like you at 21. My grandfather was a Mason. All my uncles were Masons. My cousins were all Masons. And I was asking a lot of questions. And I was of the mindset that I need to know before I join this thing. I need to know everything before I join. But it was my cousin, one of my cousins, he was like, you will never know everything about joining before you join. But you can always join and you can always walk away. Now, it took me a while to join even after talking to him because I didn't like the people who were in the lodges that was around me at the time frame. So I waited until I saw a group of brothers who were Masons and I enjoyed their company, and then I joined that lodge. So it took me into my, late 30s, early 40s before I became a Mason. But if I had to do all over again, there's another lodge that when I was in my late 20s, I would have joined.
Shit.
But your family can't stop you unless they could try to blackball you, but they're going to have a justification for it. You can't just, I don't want this person to be a Mason because of no reason. They have to give a reason. So I would ask them, what is their reason? They have a reason that they're not telling you. And if you join and they are still, and y'all still have that impasse between you, then it might cause problems within y'all relationship. So that is the other reason why I would talk to them first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the only way you'll tell me what Jabalan, that's how you say it is if I become a Mason, is if I join.
Yep.
Like why? But
Yep.
like, why is that? Why is that like?
And not just join, you have to get to a certain degree.
Wait, what degree?
Don't worry about that.
How am I supposed to know?
That's okay. Yes, you are a hell of a lot like I was at your age. You are not going to know, and you cannot know everything about Masonry until you join. Now, I gave you a way to find out a lot more information, but you didn't. I don't know if you caught it or not. So I'm going to tell you again, the overwhelming majority of the books that we use, any person can go buy those books. Now, you're only going to get a reader's level of understanding if you just read the book. So you can go get books that'll lead you all the way up to the 32nd degree. But you will only get about 1% of the understanding, the truer and deeper understanding from reading the book. Without being in lodge and listening to the lectures, you will not understand everything. Like I can tell you that you can read the initial little black book of our dogma and rituals. One of the things you do as a Mason, and one of the tools of an apprentice is the chisel and a hammer, right? And it is used to chip away the superfluidities from the stone from a imperfect ashlar in order to make it a perfect ashlar, so that the stone is fit for the builder's work. You can read that in the book. But unless you're in the lectures, and it'll tell you that the superfluidities are the aspects of yourself that you need to chip away so that you can become a better version of yourself. You can read that in the book. But unless you attend lodge and go through the lectures with the other brothers who know the deeper understanding of those tools and the rough ashlar, I said a perfect ashlar, a rough ashlar to make it into a perfect ashlar, fit for the builder's work. Unless you're in the lecture, you don't get the deeper meanings of it. So you can go read all the books, but you got to be one in lodge to get the deeper meanings. And you may be able to get some deeper meanings beyond what you read, but you're still going to be lacking the overwhelming majority of the meanings. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So even if I told you what Jubalan meant, you still would be missing out on 96% of the information. But there's one aspect of Jubalan as to why I would not tell you anything about it.
Bruh.
It's not a negative thing. But
So why won't you just tell me what it is, bro? I'm gonna join anyway, bro. Like,
no, you gotta join. And you gotta get to that level. I don't know you. I don't know that you are a good man. I don't know that you have learned the lessons of the entered apprentice, the lessons of the master mason. I don't know you learned the lessons of a fellow craft. I don't know if
I'm not a Mason yet.
Huh?
Because I'm not a Mason yet, so how would I know?
Well, when you become one and you can display those, then we can talk about those things. And when you get to the level where Jubalan is explained, then we can talk about those things. We wouldn't talk about them on here, but we can talk about those things.
So you couldn't even tell me what. So you can't even tell me what Jubalan means.
Yeah, no.
Not what it means. What degree I gotta be to get at it?
No.
So how am I supposed to know how far to go to align with?
So when you, so let's say, okay, if you go join, when you go join a lodge, there are certain words, there's certain things you can ask me, what does this mean or that mean? That's in the into the apprentice level. And then you can ask me, what does this word or that mean? That's in the fellowcraft level. You learn what that word means as you go through the process of becoming an into apprentice. And then once you become the into apprentice, you learn even more about what that word means. Then when you go to become a fellowcraft, you'll learn some more words. And then after you go through the rites of becoming a fellowcraft, you'll learn even more about what that word means. So you'll learn what Jubilant means when you get to that degree. You see, I didn't know what it meant until I got to that degree. And there are so many other things that and so that's how the process works. You learn it as you learn a little bit of it as you get to the degree, and you learn more of it after you get into the degree. So you'll know when you get to that degree.
Okay.
But you Sydney just said you trying to get it without doing the work, and that's exactly. And maybe that might be why your family has problems, because you're trying to get there without doing the work. You got to do the work.
They never invited me to become a Mason.
Because you don't invite people to become a Mason. Masonry.
So how am I put in work if they not telling me no work to put in?
You have to request to become a Mason. You have to request to become a Mason. Masons aren't supposed to. We don't go out and recruit. Now, it's sometimes people do. Like, to be honest, I was recruited. All right. But the only time I've ever seen somebody recruited is when somebody already is displaying themselves how a Mason does display themselves. That's the only time, but it doesn't happen that often. Like, I've never recruited anybody, but I've had brothers ask me to become a Mason. And then I go through the process with them, talk to them, interview them. If they're married, talk to their wife, visit their house, see how they live, get a kind of a character breakdown of who this person is. And then if I think that if I thought they were a good fit, then I brought them to the lodge, and the other brothers met them and talked to them and kind of got to know them. And then the committee, and if you're doing it properly, then a 3-person committee spends time getting to know the person, getting to know their family. And then if those 3 people approve, we have a vote. If the vote is everybody says yes, then we bring that person, then that person goes through to become an entered apprentice. Now, a lot of Masonic groups don't go through all of that, but that's how the lodge I was part of. And that's one of the reasons why I like that lodge, because they was doing it the way to make sure of the person. So you got to do the work, bro. And if you want to be one, just go and go find a lodge that you want to be a part of. Go knock on the door 3 times, like 3 knocks on the door when you know somebody is there. and then ask them to become a Mason. And then you ask them if you could become a Mason. And they'll start whatever process they use.
For sure, bro. I'm definitely gonna do that, bro. I'm gonna go look for a different lodge, bro. So all I gotta do is knock 3 times, like literally knock 3 times.
Yeah. So that's how you, unless the only other way is if you meet somebody, they're a Mason, and you ask them if they're of a local lodge, you can ask them, hey, I would love to become a Mason. Then they will, if they do it the right way, according to the rituals, they will tell you, come to the lodge at 3 p.m. on this day, knock on the door 3 times. Or they will just escort you. You will meet them and they'll meet you outside and they'll bring you inside. So, but if you know a lodge is active at a certain time frame, go there, knock on the door 3 times, and tell them that you want a petition to become a Mason.
All right, bro. Will do, bro. I'm gonna get off here though, man.
Okay, man.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Rupert is saying now I know I saw a lot of y'all stuff. Rupert is saying now I see why you think the way you do, Coach. Actually, Rupert, I was already in this mindset before I became a Mason. So Masonry actually had nothing to do with my deconstructing from Christianity. I had already deconstructed from Christianity before I became a Mason. And my deconstruction process started when I was 9. Can you just Google Jubilant or whatever y'all was saying? Yes, you can. You can Google it. That's why I was telling you can, whether you go and get our books or you can use Google, you can, and it'll give you, I've never Googled Jubilant. And you can say it's Jubilant and it was Jubilant and Jabulon. It can be said either way. Let me Google it real quick. I'm curious as to what comes up. And I'm gonna spell it the right way, the way it is in our book. Oh, okay. Yep. See, if he had, he would know what degree when that word comes up. Yeah, there's. See, it's giving some of it's giving some basic information on it, a couple of different thought processes on Jabalon. Oh, somebody wrote a whole Wikipedia on it. Yeah, see, you can read this and you are only getting certain information. And if you were to go get the Duncans, it'll give you a little bit of information, but you're not getting the deeper information on it. And that is one reason why the Duncan is not used by everybody, because it's more Americanized. Yeah, as I scroll through it, you can get a basic idea of, but it doesn't tell you the deeper understanding of Jubilan or / Jabalan. What? Stop deconstructing and destroying every damn believer who hops on the panel. I'm not destroying believers, man. I'm just here as a source of enlightenment for those who are walking the path of deconstructing. If those believers jump on here, it is to their own peril. But you got to understand, the believers are so blinded by their dogma that it wouldn't matter what I say. Just look at Primer, for example. He thinks that he wins every debate that we've ever had. So, no, I'm not here to kill, steal, and destroy. I guess I could say I believe in Jesus was probably real, but the praise is crazy. I would believe in Jesus how T. You believe in Jesus as a historical figure, or you believe in Jesus as this Trinitarian God? I need some water. Yeah, these most Christians only have, most Bible believers, I'm trying to get accustomed to just saying Bible believers, not Christians. Most believers of the Bible have the same rhetoric that they just consistently recycle over and over again. When it comes to critical thinking through their book, when it comes to actually accepting what the book says and the historicity of it, most of them can't deal with it because they don't deal with it. Because like what Cruxbane is saying, the historicity of Jesus could be an interesting topic. I'm on the fence. It's an interesting topic only to the extent that there is actually zero proof of the historicity of an actual Jesus. It is there's historicity on what people believed, but no contemporary of Jesus, of the Jesus character, wrote about Jesus. The closest to a contemporary of a person who wrote about a man named Yeshua would be Josephus ben Matthias, who was a Hellenistic Jew that was part of the Roman court after he was defeated at the Battle of Galilee between Vespasian and Titus defeated Josephus at this Battle of Galilee, and he became the scribe of Titus. Josephus, who was born in 34 CE, this dude wrote about 3 or 4, I can't remember, we just went over this not too long ago on our live about a month or so ago. He wrote about at least 3, but maybe 4 different Yeshuas who were supposedly in Judea during the time frame that this Yeshua, Jesus, was supposed to have been existing. And they all have different backstories. They all did different things. But within the things that they did, some of those things were combined in to create the biblical version of Jesus, which is one of the reasons why I speculate and am pretty solidly sure, based on the character of Vespasian and Titus and Josephus, that Josephus is the one who initiated this creation of the biblical Jesus in order to create a docile version of Judaism because how it was disrupting the Roman Empire. And that even the writings of Paul were either a literary creation or an agent of Rome who went out purposely to help create this thing. Like Josephus did the writing, the initial writing, and another person was hired by the Romans to go out and teach this and spread this and create this religion. And that person is Paul. That's who Paul is. Either a definite literary creation or a person who literally went out there at the behest of the Flavians to create this religion. But because there's no indication that an actual Paul ever existed either, outside of these writings. Now, would the Romans have to send a person to do that? Not necessarily. You could just send the person to deliver the letters, and then to deliver the letters and spread this message to create this Christianity, because that was the whole aim of Vespasian, is creating a docile version of Judaism so they would stop fighting against the Romans. And yes, Josephus did lie to save his butt. Josephus is not a good person. He was a scoundrel. He convinced his men to allow themselves to be killed, and he was supposed to kill himself, but instead of killing himself, he surrendered to Titus and Vespasian, and then after being in prison for a little bit, told Vespasian that he would become the next Roman emperor, and that there were Jewish writings that pointed to Vespasian as being the Jewish Messiah. Vespasian liked this because he knew that in becoming emperor, he needed to be able to deify himself. And that's what allowed Josephus to become part of the Roman, of his Roman court. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he wrote about 3 or 4 different Yeshua types. But there's no historicity of Jesus, because Tacitus, he's writing almost 100 years later about what people believed, that there were people who believed this stuff. This would have been well after Josephus's writings, and this little spy Paul character was created. But yeah, they don't, and I see that you say you agree, those sources don't prove anything. They just demonstrate what people believe. It's kind of like saying the writings of L. Ron Hubbard prove that the space aliens who was in some volcano, that they exist because Ron Hubbard wrote about them, and because people believe it. Because what's his name? What's his name? God damn it. What, the Mission Impossible dude, Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise believes in these volcanic aliens, then that proves the volcanic aliens exist. And where is that? Somebody wrote Tacitus was simply a reporter. He was worse. Tacitus was worse than a reporter. Tacitus was also a propagandist. Tacitus was writing things to favor the Flavians and point an evil eye at the Julio Claudians, which had came before the Flavians. Because the whole idea of Nero blaming Christians and lighting Christians on fire to be a light source, that only comes from Tacitus. No other writers ever wrote anything like that. But history, other writers talked about how Nero was bringing people into the gardens to get away from the fire, to help people who had lost their homes, that he was organizing brigades to put the fires out. Now that fucker still started the fire, but Tacitus, of course, after Nero is dead, writes a whole nother story, and that's the one that Christians and most of the world has believed for a long time. So Tacitus was also a propagandist who really ruined the man's legacy more so than the man ruined his own legacy. And yet, cosmic, there were many different variations of Christianity in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century. One of the most popular ones, which you mentioned here, was the Marcions. And there's a debate going on among scholars right now, because earlier the thought was the Marcion's gospel was a trimmed down copy of Luke's gospel, but now it's being debated that actually Luke's gospel is an expanded version of Marcion's gospel. So it might be that Marcion wrote his gospel first, and then Luke was created based off of Marcion. And of course, we know that the gospel of Luke versus, say, like Matthew, that there are discrepancies and there are, contradictions between Matthew and Luke. One of them got to be wrong. Both of them. That's not a situation where two truths can exist at the same time. As far as like, when was Jesus born? Where did Jesus go after he was born? How did he spend his first 12 years of his life? And so both of them can't be right, but they disagree. And an interesting aspect of Luke that I was listening to yesterday, no, that wasn't yesterday, that was this morning actually, is I was listening to a debate on Deconstruction Zone that he was having with a gentleman. And he brought up the fact that, and I haven't went and read it, but I listened to him read it. But he was talking about the Christian was saying that no man can follow the law perfectly. Yet in the Gospel of Luke, it says that Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth followed the law perfectly and were seen as righteous because they followed the law perfectly. So when a Christian says that you cannot follow the law perfectly, the Bible itself in Luke disagrees with that. And yeah, this is said, when looking at the writing styles within the modern version of Luke, it shows that there are several authors. And this is why linguistic archaeology should be part of your study if you're deconstructing, because it's not just finding relics, but linguistic archaeology breaks down the language and how the type and how the language is used and the time frames that certain words are used a certain way, and that gives you a deeper understanding of what something actually means. But in a lot of cases for the Bible, it will demonstrate the different authors and different authorships had to be present. This is why Isaiah is broken down into 3 parts, because Isaiah could not have been written by the same person. Tom said that I need to go on different lives to get more guests or viewers. I thought about that, Tom, and I thought about that. There are certain other lives that I listen to, and I just listen to them, and I don't really get on them. I do understand how that works as far as building your audience. It's a time thing. If I did that, Tom, it will have to be on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays for the most part. Because like after I finish this, I go and I shoot a couple of other videos, and then by the time I'm done with that, my wife is home, and I don't work after she get home if possible. But you're right. You are right about that. I can respect that thought process. There are certain other lives that I could go on if I wanted to gain more. But understand, I am just now getting back on TikTok as far as doing lives. I didn't do lives on TikTok for a couple of years because TikTok was pissing me off. But I get you, Tom. You're right. You're right. Tom is right over there. If I want to build a TikTok audience, I could. Oh, hell, it's been 3 hours and 10 minutes. Y'all know y'all have went over my time limit. It is time for me to... Oh, and you're talking about getting on lives of people who are Christians. Oh, I was talking about getting on lives of people who are going against Christianity. I see. Ugh. Ugh. I use it, see, you want to drain all my mental energy. It's funny how I can't see your message on the top chat part of the live. Oh, somebody else's message must be. How do priests earn money? You mean back in the day? Back in the day, they worked for the church, kind of like how pastors and priests do today. But back then they were agrarian, so they would have had their own cattle and sheep and goats and all that stuff as well. Yeah. But it's time for me to get off here. I appreciate you guys. And Tom, I'm gonna take your advice, and I might start doing that sort of thing, and just, see what happens. But I appreciate everybody. Today is Wednesday, so we don't go live again until Monday. We go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I will not ever be incorporating Thursdays and Fridays. That's just too much. But please subscribe to the channel. Please share all the other videos that I post throughout the week. All right. That's how, if you want to be helpful to the channel, that's the first level that I'm asking. Subscribe to the channel, share the videos. Those who are members on Facebook, subscription holders on YouTube, reverse that. Flip that. Subscription holders on Facebook, members on YouTube, thank you very much for your donation to the channel. I appreciate that. It does help out. I will actually want to get some new microphones and cameras, and that's the only way it's going to happen. So I appreciate y'all very much. If you want to attend our meetup October 2nd through the 1st of October 31st through the 2nd of November, and the hotel provides free breakfast and dinner. Go to the description in the YouTube or Facebook version of the live, which for the TikTokers, that's at Coach Renz 33 RENZ. And you'll see the link to the hotel where you get a discount, and then you also get food for breakfast and dinner. And I will make sure that there's no meetups happening while breakfast and dinner are going on, to make sure that you are able to save money by being able to eat at the hotel on those days. My wife and I will be staying at the hotel, so we're gonna be eating, and I don't want to talk to y'all while I'm eating. I don't talk to people while I'm eating that much. So I look forward to seeing you guys in San Antonio, October 31st. And I will see you again on Monday live. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And we are ending the live.